What if the most important buildings in New York City never made it to today? What if entire skyscrapers, towers, and architectural landmarks, each one a symbol of its era, simply vanished from the skyline forever? In this video, we're going to bring 10 of them back. Not through old photographs, not through faded sketches, but through AI reconstruction, giving you the closest thing to actually standing in front of these ghost buildings as you'll ever get. By the end of this video, you'll have seen structures that once defined New York, and you'll understand exactly why they were destroyed. But here's what I want you to keep in mind the entire time. One of these buildings was demolished by the very city that claimed to love it. One was torn down in less than a week, and one, the most controversial of them all, sparked a legal battle that permanently changed how America protects its architectural heritage. Stay with me to the end, because we're saving that one for last. In 1908, the Singer Building became the tallest structure on Earth. 47 floors of Beaux Arts architecture, rising above Lower Manhattan like a lighthouse at the edge of a new world. It held that title for only a year before another skyscraper surpassed it. But for that brief moment, it was the closest thing humanity had built to touching the sky. By 1968, it was gone, demolished to make way for One Liberty Plaza. And here's the detail that should stop you cold. It remains, to this day, the tallest building ever voluntarily demolished in history. No fire, no war, no structural failure, just a decision, just economics. And that raises a question I want you to hold on to. We'll come back to it. Were these demolitions inevitable, or were they choices that could have gone differently? When Pennsylvania Station opened in 1910, architectural critics described it as one of the great public spaces in the world. Inspired by the baths of Caracalla in ancient Rome, it covered 2 full city blocks. Natural light flooded through iron and glass vaults. Travelers passed beneath ceilings that rose 150 feet above the main concourse. It wasn't just a train station, it was a declaration that New York was a civilization, not merely a city. In 1963, demolition began. Within 3 years, it was completely gone, replaced by the current underground station, which architectural historian Vincent Scully described in terms that still resonate today. That one had previously entered the city like a god, and now scuttles in like a rat. But Penn Station's destruction didn't just erase a building, it ignited a movement. And that movement, we will come back to it at the end.
Not every ghost building disappears entirely. Some haunt you by still being there, stripped of everything that made them remarkable. The Gilsey House, completed in 1869 on Broadway and 29th Street, was one of the grandest hotels of the Gilded Age. Cast iron facade, mansard roof. Mark Twain stayed here. Oscar Wilde stayed here. The lobby was a theater for the city's ambitions. Today, the structure still stands, but converted to apartments. Its ground floor commercial, its grandeur hollowed out. The ghost isn't the absence of the building. The ghost is what it became.
Designed by George B. Post, the New York Produce Exchange was the first building in New York to use a fully modern steel skeleton. It was a prototype, the ancestor of every skyscraper that followed. Its trading floor was the largest unobstructed interior space in the country at the time of its construction. The building was structurally ahead of its era by 2 decades. Demolished in 1957 to make room for a building that was, by every architectural standard, inferior to what it replaced. No historical protection existed. There was no legal mechanism to stop it.
There have been 4 Madison Square Gardens, The second, designed by Stanford White, was by most accounts the most beautiful public building constructed in New York in the Gilded Age. A 341-foot tower, a rooftop garden, a concert hall, a theater, a restaurant. Stanford White himself was murdered on the rooftop by the husband of a woman he had assaulted, a scandal that consumed the city and arguably darkened the building's legacy for a generation. Demolished in 1925, when the land it sat on became more valuable than the architecture that stood on it. The story of New York in miniature.
This one reaches deeper into history than any other building on this list. Built in 1763, the Rhinelander Sugar House survived the Revolutionary War, survived the British occupation, survived the transformation of a colonial port into a modern industrial city. During the Revolution, it was used as a prison by occupying British forces. The conditions were notorious. Thousands of American prisoners died inside its walls. It survived all of that. Then, in 1892, it was demolished for an office building.
The Tombs was New York City prison and one of the strangest-looking structures in American architectural history. Designed in the Egyptian Revival style, complete with lotus column gates and massive sloping walls, it looked less like a jail than like a displaced fragment of ancient Thebes. It was also built on unstable landfill. Within decades of completion, the building had sunk so severely that the ground floor was perpetually flooded. Prisoners lived in standing water. The conditions were condemned repeatedly by reformers. Demolished in 1897, the site was rebuilt, but the name, the Tombs, survived, attached to every subsequent prison built on or near the same location. Some names outlast their buildings. Joseph Pulitzer built the World Building to house his newspaper, the New York World, and to surpass the height of the Brooklyn Bridge Tower. At the time of its completion in 1890, it was the tallest building on Earth. Its gilded dome could be seen from ships in New York Harbor. Pulitzer had instructed the architects to build something that would endure for centuries. He believed the building would outlast the newspaper itself. The newspaper folded in 1931. The building followed in 1955, demolished to widen the entrance to the Brooklyn Bridge. The dome that was meant to last centuries came down in a matter of days. New York's Crystal Palace was built in 1853 for the exhibition of the Industry of All Nations, America's first World's Fair. It was modeled on the famous Crystal Palace in London, a vast structure of cast iron and plate glass covering 4 acres of what is now Bryant Park. It held one of the greatest concentrations of industrial and artistic objects ever assembled in the Western Hemisphere at that time. Inside its glass walls, you could see steam engines, sculptures, mechanical looms, and early photography, the future rendered visible. In 1858, a fire destroyed it entirely in less than 15 minutes. Every pane of glass, every iron column, the entire structure consumed. Nothing of substance remains. Only a few photographs, a handful of engravings, and now this reconstruction. Earlier, I told you that one building on this list sparked a legal battle that permanently changed how America protects its architectural heritage. This is that building. Except, and this is the thing, Grand Central Terminal is still standing, and that is exactly the point. In 1967, after Penn Station was demolished and public outrage had reached a critical mass, New York City passed its Landmarks Preservation Law. It was one of the first laws of its kind in the United States, and it was passed in large part because people had watched Penn Station disappear and realized this could happen to anything. Then, in 1968, a development company proposed to build a 55-story office tower directly on top of Grand Central Terminal. The Landmarks Commission rejected the plan. The developers sued, arguing the law was an unconstitutional taking of private property. In 1978, the United States Supreme Court ruled in Penn Central Transportation Company versus New York City. The court upheld the Landmarks Preservation Law. Grand Central was protected, and the precedent it established began to reshape how cities across the country thought about their architectural heritage. Grand Central is not a ghost building. It's the building that stopped the haunting. Every one of these structures was, at some point, the newest, most modern thing in New York City. Every one of them was, at some point, considered unremarkable, just another building standing in the way of something newer. The question these ghost buildings leave us with isn't really about architecture. It's about what a city chooses to remember and what it allows itself to forget.